Business Focus on 89.7 FM. And this afternoon I'm here with the gorgeous, lovely Sharon Atwood from Brand Etiquette. How are you, Sharon?
Very well, thank you, Lorraine.
You're always looking fabulous.
Well, thank you.
You are. One of the best dressed people I know.
They come straight from a networking event, so it's all good.
So, Brand Etiquette, give us a snapshot of what that is. What's the business?
It's really evolved from a lot of work and training that I've done in the past, and really, you know, at the end of the day, to fulfil a business need around how we come across in our industry. So much more now it's about people working with people, and we need to have that awareness of, you know, how we're coming across to others and how they get a sense of who we are within our business.
Do you think that's often overlooked by individuals striving to get some business?
It is. I think people are very ready to invest in Facebook, in their SEO, in you know, capital expenditure. But when it comes to developing them as the number one asset of their business, we're not as quick to recognise the value in that. Whereas, you know, it's my job to make sure we do.
Okay. I think it's massive, you know, personal branding. But can you give us a little bit of insights into what that actually entails? What does that look like when you're saying someone wants to develop themselves under your brand and your guidance? What does that look like? It's sort of an outside and inside sort of process. Because of the background that I've got, it's fortunate that we can have either that sort of coaching and mindset conversation around how they feel about what it is that they're doing. You know, too often I see people forgo opportunities for, you know, opportunities to speak, to introduce themselves, to explain their business perhaps in front of their peers or, you know, at a networking event. And the other side of it is perhaps people that feel that, you know, how they look, how they walk, talk, you know, how it is that they interact with others doesn't really represent how they, you know, how they want to be seen and represent their business the best way. So we can work on both sides of that within Brand Etiquette. Which is fascinating. I love one of the quotes that you say, you know, your brand is what people say about you when you've left the room. Ooh, yeah. Yes. That freaks a lot of people out. So you mentioned just there your background and how that's shaped and moved you into where you are now. What is your background? Tell us a little bit about how you ended up where you are now. How I ended up. I get asked that a lot. Because people think, well, you know, it's a strange sort of combination to be, you know, that space to be working in. I've got 10 years background in banking and finance. I've worked in the state government. Then I worked in recruitment. I think recruitment industry really opens your eyes to, you know, obviously how quickly people have to make a good impression. But from there, I wanted to work more in the personal development space. Ended up studying performance coaching and life coaching, NLP. Along the way, somewhere I ended up with a diploma of health science, majoring in beauty therapy. And makeup artistry and the visual side of things. So, which is why you always look the way you do. Fabulous. So as soon as I say that to people, they're like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. So I sort of, you know, studied that as well, and it really does now for me, it all comes together in what I'm doing now, because we can have that multi-pronged approach, which I think gives people, you know, it's a better use of your time. I find the whole topic absolutely fascinating, and I think, you know, we all know someone who could be doing with a little word in their ear about their personal branding. But you've been doing a lot of different things now in the small business community as well. I've seen you step into more the networking space and how to represent yourself within the networking. Can you tell us a little bit more about that as well? I'd love to, Lorraine. I mean, that came about really because I ended up speaking at a lot of networking events about first impressions. You know, I'm very popular in January, February as a speaker, because for some reason that's when people think, that's it, I'm going to, you know, polish it up and I'm going to change, I'm going to get out there and do my thing. And from there I sort of saw that, you know, people were either hesitant about networking, they weren't sure how they were coming across, people felt that they weren't properly investing their time. So I've sort of merged in the experience that I've had with networking groups and obviously, you know, experience I've got so far as, you know, studying ways of building rapport and making first impressions, but particularly how that comes across in networking. So that's why now I actually work a lot in that space as well. I think it's important for people to understand, you know, the entirety of branding and what it means, right down to the handshake at that networking event. Definitely. As you're talking about. Yeah, I've actually in workshops and when I've been presenting, you know, people have actually asked about how to shake hands, and, you know, there is a right way to do it. There's some spectacular videos around on the wrong way to do it.
But, you know, I mean, when we're doing business, if we're doing business well, it's often the only time that we actually, you know, touch the person that we're doing business with. So that's that sort of opportunity. Hopefully yeah, in most, most business. Because, you know, but it's the thing is we want to leave someone with that, you know, that good impression. We know a lot of people who don't shake hands well or don't introduce themselves well or stand with any sense of authority. So, you know, and that translates. And networking, often it's that opportunity to make a great, quick impression and build rapport effectively.
What I also thought was really interesting after a conversation with yourself was how you work in the corporate space as well, around how do employees link with the company values, and how do they network, and how do they shake hands?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
It's interesting because, you know, I have a whole sort of cycle, if you like, of how networking fits into business. So particularly with corporates, obviously they want to know, how does this fit in? Is this worth our time and effort? And whether it's, you know, part of their customer retention strategy to sort of pay it forward with networking, whether it's, you know, the way that they're actually bringing clients into their business or just building their brand, they need to get that across to their staff. And I'm seeing more and more now businesses are making it a part of their KPIs that, you know, staff are responsible for going out there and relating the brand. The difficulty is they're not in charge of that brand. It's not personal to them. And a lot of the times there's restrictions around social media. But when they're out there building their brand as them, face to face, they've got a lot more opportunity to sort of, you know, build rapport and get to know people as a representative of their business.
Absolutely. You've been a successful business owner yourself in different businesses.
Different thing, yeah.
How do you think the landscape has changed with regard to people working with people?
I think it's coming full circle. There's a lot of research out there at the moment, which obviously just fascinates me, and hopefully interests others as well. But around the fact now that, you know, social media has taken us away from the human element. You know, it's enabled people to outsource something that would have been personal in the past. You know, you can outsource people writing on your website, you can outsource your blogs, you can outsource people to actually interact on social media for you. But when you want to get to know somebody, when you want to get that vibe and feeling of the business, face-to-face is the only thing really now where it comes into its own. And I think that's why we're seeing more about storytelling within business, you know, more about values within business. But the only way we can really see that translate is through face-to-face, you know, interaction and how we work with our networks.
I think you're right. We really need both these days. We need the online and the offline.
Yeah, they've got to work. And I think too many people got too far away from thinking, well, I don't have to leave the office anymore. You know, I can do everything online. I can outsource everything. You know, I can
hide behind my computer.
Hide behind it. Yeah, they do. And it's time to get out there. And unfortunately, that's translated into us losing a lot of the skills along the way. Or it not being part of people's focus, and we're having to think about it again, how we work with other people, how we shake hands, you know, how we speak to others. So, yeah, I think people are realising now it's a skill worth developing. My nana would be proud.
She would.
She would.
So what kind of people do you like to work with? What would be an ideal customer for Brand Etiquette?
Predominantly it's business owners like you're looking to get out. So they've got that business established. A lot of the time it's, you know, they've done that side of things, but they know there's more they could be doing. They know there's more opportunity for them to get out there and represent their business. I mean, the flip side of that, I'd love to work with people right at the beginning of that business journey, but they've got so many things to invest their time and effort into. I suppose that's why, I mean, I like the workshop environment. It gives people that opportunity to come in and get the basics. You know, when they're starting out, but obviously, you know, one-to-one, yeah, it's people really who are looking to get out there and represent themselves really well.
Which you obviously do.
I'd like to think so. It's a tough gig. You've got to really walk your talk, I think, when you're telling people to do something. And as I say, I've never asked of anything of anyone that I haven't tried myself. You know, whether that's, you know, Facebook Living, abseiling through to something like this. You know, if I think it's a good idea, I'll have a go if I can.
You will. So where is your passion? What's your particular passion in the business? Where does it lie? Or what sort of, is it a journey when someone arrives? Is it an enlightening moment? What is it the passion for yourself?
I think for anyone in my kind of industry, it's that moment when someone gets it. You know, when they can see the potential within themselves and you're just allowing that to come out. You know, a lot of the time we already know enough to get on. You know, we know enough to move forward, but it's crystallising that. It's sort of that distillation of what we already know so that we can move and make a decision. And I think that, yeah, when you see that penny drop and someone thinks, yeah, I can do this, or, you know, there's benefit in this, and they start to feel comfortable in what they're doing and go out on their own and take advantage of opportunity and see how that, you know, improves their business, that's when it's exciting. You know, you can sort of talk about something as much as you want, but when you see someone put it in action and actually, you know, get that benefit, that's I think that's what it's all about.
I think the important word you used, or one of the important words you used there, was comfortable. You know, I think people are looking to be confident and to be comfortable with what they're doing and to have that reassurance from an expert that what they're saying and how they're projecting themselves is correct.
I think so. Otherwise, yeah, there's sort of hesitance, you know, well, how's that going to come across? And particularly I want to say to people, well, you know, they're going to talk about you. We want word of mouth referrals. That's people talking about us when we're not there. And if anybody's worried about how that's going to translate, they tend to just not ask for the business. You know, they ask not to be referred to, whether they realise it or not, because they're a bit nervous of what others will say. Whereas when we know that we're coming across well and we know that we're educating our market and our advocates well, the business flows because we're so open to it coming to us. You know, because we know the message out there is great. You know, we know what people will say about us. You know, whether that's the right hashtag, the right explanation. Some people get a bit horrified if you ever hear someone introduce you to someone else and think, oh, they've got that completely wrong. That's what I come in and stop from happening. You want everyone to know the right version of what you do and the benefit of knowing you.
Everyone needs to come and see you.
So whether it's just to tidy up some loose ends or just to get very clear on you know, what that sort of perception is. I'll often say to people is start really looking at your emails. Think about the business that's getting referred to you. You know, is it what you really want? Are people getting that right idea of who you are and what you're all about? You know, when they send people your way, or if they're not sending people your way, a lot of the time it's just they don't understand, you know, what you do, or they don't understand who you want. It's not that they don't love you.
Yeah. You just don't know what you're offering.
They don't know what you're offering. And it's sometimes too, we don't realise that, especially with social media, there can be those perceived inconsistencies. You know, people think you do one thing, but you're giving off another vibe, or the language that you're using is subconsciously putting doubt in people's minds. So I have a process where we actually, you know, can analyse that and look at it and just make sure that, you know, you are consistent. Because people really like consistency when they're referring to you, because they want to know that you're going to treat people well when they send them to you.
Yeah. Wow, there's a lot of information and I'm hearing a lot of C's. So if you're looking for some clarity and some confidence and consistency in your brand and some guidance around, you know, your own projections and your personal branding, and also how to network or get your network working.
Yes, get your networking working.
To come and see yourself.
Yes.
So Sharon, that's absolutely fantastic information. Love your work. But how would people contact you if they're looking for some assistance?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, I've got a website, www.brandetiquette.com.au. That's all being refurbished. So we'll have some great opt-ins and downloads available on there. And as you would guess, I'm very active on Facebook and social media, whether that's through my personal profile. I check in a lot publicly to networking events, so people are quite free to follow me there, or through the business page, which is Brand Etiquette on Facebook.
Thank you very much. I hopefully we'll hear from you again very soon.
Thank you.
Sharon Atwood from Brand Etiquette.
Thank you, Lorraine.